In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose. As long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts, Alex and Sean. On this episode, we are going to be talking about some interesting Bull stuff, talking about Cubs and White Sox baseball and sprinkling a little Bears. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You could see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. Season is not going on right now, but it shouldn't stop you from heading on over to icehogs.com, getting yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, my friend, how are you doing on this beautiful summer sunny day?
I am doing just great. Just great. Yesterday was Father's Day. I had a great day with my dad. We went to the Cubs game. We saw them win on a walk-off single by Hap. All is good. All is well. So the only thing I can complain about right now, honestly, is, um, I guess, I don't know. I don't really have anything to complain about. I was trying to think of something to complain about, but I couldn't really think of something.
Yeah, no, things are good. Things are good. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Thanks for listening to us. And where do you want to start, Alex?
Well, I think baseball is kind of important right now. We're in full swing of things, and there's a few talking points I wanted to bring up to you as the Cubs enter what I'd say is a pretty important stretch. We're kind of done for a bit with our Pirates and Rockies and Marlins because now we're going to have to face the Brewers. Then you're going to have to face the Mariners. Then you're going to go to the St. Louis Cardinals. You're going to go to Busch Stadium in St. Louis. And then I think you play the Astros after that. So you're entering a very serious part of your schedule right now.
Yeah, it's a buzzsaw. And the Brewers are starting to play some good baseball. They've taken over second place in the division. Cardinals have dropped down to tied for third. Um, but you've got the Brewers and then the Mariners, who I'm going to Sunday's game on
Oh,
Michael
nice.
Michael Bush Lightning Bobblehead Day.
Michael Bush Lightning Bobblehead Day.
Yes, yes.
Is that the second coolest thing to Bears Greedo Day?
I I wish there was a Greedo Lightning Bobblehead Day.
You would be literally trampling people just to be first in line. Actually,
Camped
no, what am
out.
I saying? You'd camp out. Yeah, you'd be in Gallagher Way in the tent, and Tom Ricketts would come by. Hello, sir. If you're gonna camp here, you better charge me money.
Uh, but yeah. So both of those are home stands. Then you go to St. Louis for four, and
That's
then
a four-game set?
it is a four-game set.
Oh.
Yeah, that's toughy. Um, and then you go to Houston, and then right back home to Cleveland, and then St. Louis. It's a buzzsaw. And then, rounding it out is you go to Minnesota, and then right from Minnesota, you hop on a plane and you go to the Bronx to face the Yankees.
This is a very serious stretch. I mean,
Yeah.
there are really no breaks here. I mean, Cleveland's meh, but even so, like I said, you're not playing another Rockies or Pirates anytime soon or Marlins. Things are getting serious, and you've been winning games. You won three of four to the Pirates this past weekend slash week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And you continue to get great pitching. Like that's been the theme of the past few weeks. Your pitching and defense has won as your offense has gone into a bit of a slump, and this slump has kind of lingered for a little bit. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to be a downer here, and I think you and I both know that this team was going to hit a slump at some point. The way they were scoring runs the first, month and a half, it was unsustainable, right? Like we knew this.
Yeah, absolutely.
With that said, it's going to need to start coming alive again because you're about to face the stud that the Brewers have, the young stud. They called him up against the Cardinals, and then you got to face Freddie Peralta. So in two games, the first two games at Wrigley, I believe, are against him and Peralta. And you have not been scoring very much at home. You were able to get away with it against the Pirates because one, your defense and pitching has been good, and two, the Pirates lineup is dog water. And then think about it too. When you face the Mariners, what's their strength? Pitching, right?
Yep. And I know you were like, I'm not worried about the Indians, but not a single team that, as of right now, June 16th, every team that the Cubs play from now till the All-Star break, none of them are under 500. Not
Yeah.
a single one.
And listen, that's why it was so important that you stacked all those wins against the sub 500 teams. You know, when you think about it, whether or not it was a 1-0 game or a 10-0 game, you beat the Marlins. Okay? You took what? 4 of 6 against them in both series. You took 4 of 6 against the Reds, who are right now a 500 team. You swept the Rockies. You took 3 of 4 from the Pirates. You took 2 of 3 from the Nationals. Like, those are all the teams you said you need to beat, and you beat them. And now things are going to be serious. And when you look back, even at the last road trip, it was a tough road trip. You went 4-5. It's not the end of the world, but you lost some frustrating games. Your bats went silent in several of those games. And you were facing a lot of great pitchers, too. Obviously, you were facing Tariq Skubal. You were facing Jack Flaherty. You were facing Zach Wheeler. So you were facing a lot of big arms. But you know what you want to look at is say, okay, the matchups ahead, you're going to face more high caliber pitching, and you can look at some of those games and say, some of them were ugly, but some of them you felt like you got some good swings. I'll tell you this. They handled Paul Skeens as good as you could without scoring a run, if that makes sense, on Friday.
Right. And the I just want to say about the Zach Wheeler game is, all right, you started okay against him, and then he took over.
Yeah.
What you needed to do is get him out of the game and attack that bullpen, because that Phillies bullpen is dog shit sandwiches,
hmm
and you've got to take advantage of that. And they didn't. And that was the frustrating part.
That was probably the most frustrating game of that road trip, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, the fact that in extras, you took a lead, you could have had more, you couldn't get the man from third home, which I believe was PCA. All you had to do was put the ball in play with one out, and Swanson struck out. And then, Danny Palencia comes in for a second inning and two bunt hits against them. And that's just one of those points where you're like, yeah, it's just clearly not meant to be tonight. So that was really frustrating. Obviously, against the Tigers, I didn't see the game live, but I saw the replay. I saw what happened. I got to give it to the Cubs against Tariq Skubal. I thought they had some good swings. The Tigers just made some good defensive plays. Tip your cap there. And then the game Sunday, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, you had some calls that didn't go your way. The Ian Happ being called out when he looked safe, and the strike three called to Nico that got him and Craig Counsell thrown out. So that's like, okay, it's frustrating, but it happens. Going forward, you're hoping to kind of change your fortunes a little bit because you need to score more than 1 or 2 runs to beat most of these teams coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you just do.
Yeah.
And hopefully they can do that. Because one of the things I feel like is missing that we saw earlier was just the calmness of the situational hitting. And this might sound like old cliche meatball take, but they're swinging for the fences. Sometimes I feel like lately when they used to just put the ball in play and poke it somewhere, or they, put together a really nice at bat, they weren't chasing. I feel like you're seeing a bit more of that aggressiveness, and it's just not producing as well as it did a month or so ago. When all you need to do is make contact and John Birdie is swinging at a slider that bounces in front of home plate. It's things like that we've seen a lot more of recently.
It's funny you say that because I've got my notes because I will forget what I want to talk about if I don't. My second bullet point for the Cubs is they've become too reliant on the home run lately. And that's exactly what I was talking about is early in the season, I remember commenting to you. I was like, what I like about the Cubs is they are hitting home runs, but they're not like they don't have a high percentage of their runs are from home runs. And that's really completely switched right now. And they're still hitting some home runs, but that's been like a huge percentage of their runs are off the home run. They are not scoring runs in bunches without the home run. And that's been the frustrating part.
Well, that's the thing, like I want to bring up too, is if you look over the past few weeks, you haven't really seen, outside of maybe one or two times, they did it in the one win against Philly, but I was just thinking even yesterday, seeing at the game, I'm like, remember those innings where they would just keep the line moving? You'd get hits, you'd get walks, you'd have productive outs, and the line just kept going and going and going, and they just can't really get that going recently. And they're capable of it. They'll do it again. It's just you want it to happen sooner or later. Every team goes through these stretches like this. Every team is going to have a slump. And keep this in mind too. Compared to the beginning of the year, you had a healthy Ian Happ. Ian Happ is in better shape now, but remember when he came back from that oblique injury, it took him about a week to really get back to normal. And then obviously you don't have Miguel Amaya, who's been one of your best clutch hitters, and boy, I think that's been a big loss. And I think that's going to prove to be a big loss even further because Carson Kelly is not playing like Barry Bonds anymore. That is a big difference.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I think Kelly needs to be the Robin to Miguel Amaya being the lead catcher and for him to flourish. And now that he's got to be the lead catcher, it's you're seeing things come back to earth.
Yeah, and you knew it was going to happen, but it wouldn't really be as noticeable if Miguel Amaya was healthy and hitting. And I think Reese McGuire, for what we've asked him to do, has done an overall good job. We didn't ask him to come here and be Johnny Bench or anything, but he's handled the bat okay for what his career is. And he's been pretty good behind the plate as well. So, this is no shot at Reese McGuire, but Miguel Amaya is clearly your best hitting catcher by a long shot, even factoring in Reese McGuire.
I mean, the good thing is Miguel Amaya got cleared to begin throwing program.
Yeah, which is
So,
good.
I mean, who knows how long it's from there, but it's a good sign.
It is a
Um,
good sign. Yeah.
and Shota is throwing off the mound. I think he throw a similar or a minor league game today.
He was throwing the other day in the Complex League, and they said he was going to throw a game today, I believe with a minor league affiliate, either today or tomorrow. Sometime soon, he was going to throw with a minor league affiliate. So if all goes well, you like the path that he's on. I think that it's going to be one of those things where you say, okay, maybe in a few weeks he's back. He's not going to go as deep into games his first time out like he once did, most likely. But having him back will obviously be a nice boost, even though the rotation has held it together, even without him and Steele.
Yeah, Yahoo Sports is reporting that he Shota is estimated to be back this month.
Yeah,
So the next 2 weeks. So that's good. Um,
yeah.
because then you get to see what he looks like before the trade deadline.
Exactly. And you know no matter what they're going to buy more arms, but that really is a big get to have back. it's the cliche of, oh, one of our trades is getting one of our top people healthy again. I really hate that cliche, but it does kind of apply here.
Um, but yeah, the bats. I'm gonna point something out, and I could be completely wrong.
Hmm.
This is just anecdotal. Um, Early in the season, it seemed like the Cubs' swings were a little flatter, like they were trying to hit line drives, knowing that uh home games in April in Chicago, you're not going to hit the long ball nearly what you are in July. Um, and now I'm seeing more pop-ups. They're getting underneath it more. And I don't know if they've tried to elevate swings to because the you're going to start hitting more home runs or if or what happened, but it just seems like we're getting more pop-ups that they're getting underneath more. And I don't know if that's they're getting pitched too differently based on the early results, or if it's their, the swings are changing as the weather changes and we get deeper into the season.
Well, it is funny you mentioned that on two points. One, being at the game yesterday, there were a lot of lazy fly balls and pop-ups off their bats, tons of them. In fact, the Cubs from innings 2 to 9, 2 through 9, I should say. No, 2 to 9. We'll call it the second through the eighth. So up to the ninth inning, from the second inning, they only had one hit, and that was an infield single. Then in the ninth inning, you had Swanson and Horner with hits, and then obviously Ian Happ with the walk-off in the 10th. But yeah, I mean, they didn't get anything going from the second through the eighth inning, and there were a lot of pop-ups. Now, also to add to that, they played great small ball at the beginning of the year when they needed to. And listen, I'm not going to be one of those you need to bunt all the time, you need to bunt here, 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 and here. But I feel like the loss on Friday, which ended up being a very frustrating loss, I thought there was room on multiple occasions to play a little small ball when you really just kind of didn't. And what I mean by that is not necessarily bunting, but there were times I was really surprised that runners didn't move. Like, why didn't John Birdie try to steal? And sure, Henry Davis was behind the plate, I believe, on the Pirates, and he's a very, very good arm back there. But I feel like there were moments where you could have tried to move along when you didn't. Also, if you would have had Ian Happ in motion on that Tucker double, he would have scored.
That's what I was screaming at my TV. Yesterday's game, you saw Bruhan be super aggressive, and they did a double steal from Uh,
It
he
was
stole
great.
third, and that was great. But it's hilarious. I actually had a or a tweet ready to go, and I was getting ready to send it when Ian Happ got his hit. But I was like, "Watch, the Cubs are going to have runners on second and third, no outs, and not drive a man home." Because to your point, they you had what was it Birdie had swung out or swung on no nothing. I forgot who it was. Somebody
It was
swung.
Birdie. It was Birdie because Birdie was the guy on deck. They intentionally walked Tucker, and then it was Birdie batting with nobody outs. They did the double steal because Birdie was going to be laying down a bunt originally. Then they did the double steal. Then he chased the pitch in the dirt and struck out.
Yeah, I was so annoyed, and I was like, all right, you've got to get a guy to make contact.
And
Yeah,
Birdie's supposed to be good at that stuff.
yeah, make contact. Is Bruhan is going to be flying down that line. Make them make a play.
Right, right.
No matter what, is he either scores, you win, or he's out, and then you've got Tucker at third with one out. So just be aggressive and make sure you get contact. They've lost that ability to be able to just move guys over.
Well, and we've seen Dansby Swanson go in that slump again. And when that happens, he's striking out a lot and he's striking out a lot in big moments. And going back to Friday, I don't know if you remember this. I missed the first like half of the game because I was working, but it was late. It was 1-1. The first two guys get on hits. So PCA got on, Seiya Suzuki got on. It almost looked like a guarantee the Cubs were going to take the lead. And the very first pitch, Swanson rolls over for a double play. And we know how different the offense is when Dansby Swanson's hitting. And he's been in one of those slumps. He has redeemed himself. He had a game-winning home run the next day. And then on Sunday, he had two hits, including an RBI. So you hope that's the trend in the right direction for him. But his slump has definitely hurt the past few weeks.
Yeah. But I want to get your thoughts on the pitching matchup of Horton and Skeens.
Well, Horton was awesome. And I don't care how bad the Pittsburgh Pirates lineup is. You're still facing a major league lineup as a rookie, and you know you can't make a single mistake against Skeens.
Yeah. I mean, Skeens is really good.
He is.
I
And
I appreciated that Horton, the moment wasn't too big.
no,
He looked really good. And that makes me feel confident. I mean, still, I want to go out and get a frontline, starting pitcher in the trade deadline.
yeah, you have to get more no
But
matter what, yes.
but if Horton is your four, you're in a good spot.
Do you hear me knocking on wood? I'm knocking hard on wood when I say this. To parrot what you just said, so far, he has not let the moment get to him. Has he had his normal rookie struggles? Sure, but that's to be expected. But even remember going back to his first ever start, although technically it was an opener, but it was his first major league appearance, debut in New York against the Mets, who were at the time the best team in baseball and the best home team in baseball. And he had to face the likes of Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto and the polar
Pete
bear.
Alonso.
Yeah. And there were a few jams he got in, but he was able to work out of them. He didn't panic. He didn't let the moment get too big for him. And for him to do that on the road, I think kind of set a little bit of a tone. Knocking on wood still. And again, like I said, there's going to be some ugly moments. There's going to be some struggles from a rookie, but so far, you got to look at what you see from him and really like it.
Absolutely. Um, the future looks bright with him. I mean, yeah, barring the Pirates trading, not or trading Paul Skeens, like that could be a matchup that we're talking about for a long time.
Sure. Could be him versus Skeens. Him, that rookie from the Brewers, we're going to be facing tomorrow, I believe. Slash today if you're listening right now, because you're probably not going to listen until after we record this. But yeah, I mean, you look at the NL Central, and one thing that it does have is a lot of young stud pitchers. You got Hunter Green in Cincinnati. That's another one,
Hmm.
obviously. So you have a number of young pitching, uh, studs in this division that can make it competitive for a long time. And this division has ended up being fairly competitive so far for what people thought. And sure, the Cubs are more than a game or two ahead. They're 5.5 as of right now. But the Brewers, I don't think they're going away. And even if the Cardinals cool off a little bit, they're more competitive to this point than we thought. And the Reds will hang around in there. I mean, the Pirates are really the only one that isn't there. But you look at some of the other divisions, the AL Central's really fallen off. The Tigers are just country miles ahead of everybody else in there, but everyone else is either mediocre or bad. And you even look at the AL East now with whatever the hell Boston just did last night with the Devers
Yeah.
trade, which is going to shake up this whole thing. That trade
That
is going to have a massive ripple effect.
that's what that was my first point I wanted to talk about. Is that Devers trade? That was a big trade. And I wonder if it's going to open the floodgates because usually we don't see trades this early, or at least meaningful ones. Um, and that really is going to open the door. I wonder if other trades will happen sooner and people will be more aggressive because they saw that.
Yeah, I wonder too. I mean, obviously, this trade wasn't made out of a necessity from a team. This was a trade made because there were two unhappy sides, and it was very public that there was tension between these two. We saw it going back to what, spring training when they acquired Alex Bregman.
Hmm.
Devers was the third baseman. Then they acquired a third baseman. And not only a third baseman, but an All-Star World Series champion third baseman. So it's like you got two alphas for one position. And he did not want to move from his position. And then I don't know if you saw the report, but basically the quote was he met with the Red Sox saying, "Listen, I'll stay here. I want to stay here. But if you don't want me, then trade me." And then that's what they did. It was a very
Yeah.
unique situation.
Yeah, it was a wild one. But that was an aggressive trade by the Giants. And we'll see how that works out. But there's a guy that I really, really am interested in with the Cubs. And I'm hoping that uh this pans out for them because um I'm not sure if this team is a seller yet, but it's Zach Gallen.
Yeah, that's a name that's come up that, like you said, I don't know if they're going to be selling yet. Their pitching overall has not been very good, but they're still hanging around.
That's the thing. They're not, I mean, they're not going to be competitors. They're not. I think they're going to realize that and be like, you know what? Why are we going to hang on to these guys that we don't have under contract going forward? Um, and and then make those trades like that. That just makes sense to me.
Right. Because, I mean, this is the tricky thing. There are several guys you can identify on teams that are just right on the cusp. Like you look at the Rays always have arms that you would want. And sure, they're known for making trades no matter what, but you're still not 100% what they might do. It's not like you're the Marlins. You know they're not contending, and you know they're probably going to trade Alcantara, who has been pitching better recently. But it brings up the other point, too, of how many selling teams slash potential selling teams have alpha type number one or number two starters. There's not a lot.
I mean, we'll talk about the White Sox in a second, but the White Sox have some guys that are pitching well that I'm sure that they're willing to part with, but they're not front end guys. I mean, none of them that they're going to trade are.
Right.
Um, Baltimore, uh, you know, they're actually playing better. Um, but like who are you trying to get there? They got some okay pitchers there. Let's see. Tampa has got a big lead in the wild card. They're not trading anybody.
No,
Um,
but they make deals.
yeah, but you
They
know
always
what?
make deals.
They always make deals that end up being good for them.
You're
Um,
right. You're right. And I'm not
I'm,
saying they're going to sell, but that
I'm,
wild card might, I don't know. We'll see.
um, I mean, Houston's not trading. Seattle's not trading. Texas is playing well. Um, who do you want from the Angels? Um, yeah, I mean, uh, it's Arizona is one game above 500, but the Dodgers are playing, you know, for them, not good baseball, and they're 6.5 games ahead of Arizona. The Giants just made that big trade. The Padres are way better than you. So you really, I mean, sure, you're ahead of the Rockies, but I mean, I think you and I could go field at the elementary school a bunch of kids that could be competitive with the Rockies. Uh,
Yeah.
so you're in no man's land if you're Arizona. Even if you make a run, like where are you going? Where
Yeah. I agree with you personally.
like just they should just reload for. I mean, they don't have a bad club. It's just they're in a bad spot. Just reload for next year. Like don't you're not selling the farm. You're just reloading for next year and getting rid of guys 6 months early. Uh, they're I mean they're they've got to leapfrog a bunch of teams to make the wild card.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them. I mean, the National League is just right now clearly the better of the two leagues in terms of the competitive teams and the competitive landscape.
If you draw the line, like in the wild card race of the teams that you like, there's 0% chance. Arizona is the last team above that line.
Right.
Like so,
They're the Bears version of in the hunt.
yeah, they're like that in the hunt. It's in such small type because it's not happening. So,
Right.
I I mean that's the move, and I mean I know Jared. Uh, I know that the Cubs would make an aggressive move. It's just there's nobody to make an aggressive move with yet. I think they're waiting for certain teams to just finally give up the ghost and admit that that they're not being competitive.
Right. Yeah. And when you talk about, like, say, in division trades, you know the team that's going to be selling off is the Pirates, and you're not going to get Paul Skeens, you're not going to get Mitch Keller.
I'm gonna. I don't think Skeens is going anywhere.
They're not trading Skeens.
Let me cook here for a second. Is 2 weeks ago, I'd have been like 100%. They are not trading Paul Skeens. Just not happening. I have started to hear enough people that work in the industry say never, that it has me wondering why suddenly are people going, nah, to never say never. It's probably a low chance. You'd have to pay, and it's probably not in division, but I, I it is not. I mean, there's guys that you don't bother calling. You don't bother. Teams are calling the Pirates, and they're unapologetically calling the Pirates about Paul Skeens. So it must mean they think there's a possibility that they can move the Pirates off of him.
Just kind of feels like the nerd asking out the prom queen. Worst she could say is a no, right?
Or spray you with mace. I don't think it's gonna happen. Like I'm a realist here. I don't think it's gonna happen. I'm just saying is I don't think it's such a firm no that you couldn't package something to make that happen.
Do you remember the Office episode when Andy goes to anger management and then he comes back and then Dwight sprays him with pepper spray at the end?
Yeah.
That's what I picture, like somebody like walking into the Pirates front office asking about Skeens. It's like a GM just happens to be traveling and docks them in person and then he just gets pepper sprayed like Andy.
You just see pepper spray come through the end of the phone. Uh,
Uh,
yeah, I don't feel super confident when I say no. I think it's a 95% no that they don't trade him. But man, that 5% jumped really fast for me.
so they might hold on to the trigger briefly with the mace before.
Uh, I, I'm just saying is if they trade him, uh, they're going to get a big haul,
A historic one.
but you know, I think that juice might just be worth the squeeze. Is what team, if you add Paul Skeens to their rotation, doesn't suddenly just become a favorite for the World Series?
It's gonna be the Dodgers, isn't it?
Oh my God, can you imagine that? That
If
would be just unfair.
if the Dodgers put together a trade package for Paul Skeens, I'd just throw my arms up and be like, you know what? You did what I thought was impossible. What can I say?
I would I would just be like, I'm tap. I'm done. Done. I'm out.
I feel like there'd be protests outside MLB headquarters.
There probably would. There probably would because it is such bullshit.
I mean, that trade would have to truly be a historic haul. Like one we've never seen before.
Yeah, but and I then he's definitely not getting traded in the division. So there's no chance of the Cubs. So I'm not saying this as a pipe dream for my team. I'm just saying is never say never with Paul Skeens. Somebody might put a package together. Um, you want to talk White Sox?
Sure.
So they made a trade. Uh, they traded with the Brewers and they gave up Andrew Vaughn for Aaron Savale. I think that was a really good trade for the White Sox.
I thought that was a great trade for the White Sox. We were pretty much done with Andrew Vaughn here in Chicago. And I think it's one of those scenarios where the White Sox were able to take advantage of a team that was ready to part with their pitcher because the Brewers were going to move Aaron Savali to the bullpen. He didn't want to go. He said, trade me. And then they did. And I mean, at this point, like I've said before, I think Andrew Vaughn showed you everything he needed to show you here in Chicago. Could Milwaukee use some of their devil magic and get something out of them and hopefully not kill the Cubs in crucial games? I
They
don't
sent
know.
him to
We'll see.
AAA. He's in trip.
I know he's in AAA now, but down the road.
Yeah, I just think Andrew Vaughn was cooked, and you gave up a guy that was you got money too. You gave up Andrew Vaughn and you got money. So you parted with a problem that you didn't have a solution for, and you got an MLB caliber starting pitcher. Is
And
he?
hey,
And he gave you a one start already, and it was a good start.
and if he keeps giving you more, you can flip him.
That's exactly what I said. Is I texted Gary when that happened. I was like, watch. If he pitches well, they're gonna flip him for something else.
Hmm.
And even if they don't flip him, you've got a bunch of young pitchers that are coming to their close, they're going to be coming up to their career innings mark. And you've got a veteran that can pitch, you know, pick up some of those innings. Like if you don't trade him, like that's a valuable eating innings is a value in this in MLB. So you like that was a huge win. No matter what happens, I think that was a win. And it potentially could be an even bigger win going forward.
Yeah, no, I think the White Sox really did good there. That is better than I thought they could get for Andrew Vaughn at this point. And I
I
know
didn't think
Andrew
they were.
Vaughn's not expensive, but still, he hasn't been good.
Um, you, Chris Getz, I'm gonna say, has he failed up into this job. I will never stop saying that he failed up into this job, and but he's doing a good job so far.
I
And
mean,
he's only done part of a job so far. Is he tore things down, and now he's churning the roster until he finds some guys. So those are all skills. I mean, anybody can tear down a team, but if you do it smartly, and he brought assets in, he brought a lot of assets in, and they're already starting to pay dividends. So he brought assets in. So he did a smart teardown. He's churning the roster. So, you find some guys that are key pieces already in your churning. What he's got to do next is start signing free agents and being smart about free agency and getting value, because you're not going to ever be able to spend big money with the White Sox until, Jerry's out of the picture. You're not going to be able to spend big money, but you can spend smart money. And that's if he's able to do that, he's going to turn around this team quicker than anticipated.
yeah, I mean, I've said this before, I'll say it again. That Crochet trade is looking better and better for the Sox as we speak. Because Crochet's been great for Boston, but what the hell is Boston even doing at this point? Obviously, You traded away Devers, who's an elite bat, and now you're just like, okay, we're still trying to go for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that was a win-win trade. Sure,
The
the Red Sox,
crochet trade.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is, you know, the Red Sox aren't capitalizing on it, but Crochet has been pitching well, and you got good players. It was a win-win situation for both clubs, and that's how it's supposed to be done. And the White Sox, like they haven't been on the hot streak, but they're playing good baseball. They're playing competitive baseball.
Yeah, I mean, even though you got swept in Texas, all those games were close. All of them.
Yeah, and you know Teal's in a bit of a slump. Uh, but
Ebbs and
that's
flows of a
ebbs
rookie.
and flows of a rookie, and you've figured out who he is. Like they've decided he's their catcher. So you've got to like that. You've got to like, all right, well, we decided on who he is. Uh, you know, uh, Now it's going to be deciding what they're going to do at the trade deadline because they're going to make moves. Gary and I were debating this the other day. They're gonna at least attempt to trade at least one outfielder, at least one. Um, and we were debating. Can I ask you? I mean that you agree that the White Sox are going to try to trade at least one of their outfielders, right?
Yes.
How would you rank them in order of who we would get rid of first?
Well, if you're looking for a guy who has value right now, even if he's not, quote, an everyday player on a contender, our old friend Mike Talkman has been playing pretty well.
Yeah, he's going to bring value. So I mean, if you're looking at the easiest return, he's going to give it to you. I have Luis Robert because I think he's worn out his welcome. Um, I know it's not an ideal situation, but Mike Talkman played a lot of center field last year for a team that's not going to be competitive. Like you could do worse at center field. Um, or you could put Michael Taylor in back in center, but you've got options if you move Luis Robert. For me, you're like, okay, that might be an addition by subtraction.
I think that's a fair assessment. I really do, because I even was tempted to say Luis Robert as well. And think about it. I bet there are a lot of teams that look at his skill set and say, you know what? I bet we could fix that.
And then honestly, you could make an argument for Benintendi because he's not playing terribly. He's not playing like
Eh.
he's playing fine. He's playing fine. So if you could get him off your books, I mean, you're gonna have to give up some money to get a player back.
But
But
that's the thing. Who's going to want to take how much of that?
if you get up any of or dump that contract and get any money back, uh, that's money you can put forward to a player that's actually going to matter for your team.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe he does get traded. My thing is, he's owed 17 million this year. Then he's owed 17.1 million next year. And then he's owed 15.1 million in 2027. And right now, Benintendi has a 716 OPS, which if the season ended today, that would be better than any of his other previous years with the White Sox. But um, if he was on the last year of his deal and was relatively cheap, then I
Oh,
think,
I
yeah, absolutely.
I
But
don't know how much value he has, but I'm saying if you're looking at it from the White Sox perspective, you're like, man, yeah, I would love to get rid of that. If you're looking at the value that other clubs are going to look at, it's probably Talkman because he's not expensive and he's got an almost a 900 OPS and
absolutely.
can play all three outfield positions.
Hmm.
And Luis Robert is a guy that you could be like you said, we could fix him. Every front office has those like alpha guys that think they can fix anybody because they're smarter. And Luis Robert is a five tool guy that's playing like a zero tool guy or like a two-tool guy. Sorry, he's playing a two-tool guy. Um, but you know, he's got a sub 600 OPS. So Benintendi's probably the least desirable, but if you're the White Sox, like that's probably the guy you'd love to get rid of.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's probably what, like your top salaried guy at this point?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't think who would even be close to second. Because, well, okay, Luis Robert, but he signed a pretty sweetheart deal, didn't he? Before he
Uh,
made his debut.
he did, but I mean, it's not like super inexpensive, but it's let's see. White Sox salaries. Benintendi is number one. Luis
Hmm.
and neck or this year he's at 17.1. Luis Roberts 15 this year.
So yeah, that's $2 million less. Okay, so it's not an astronomical difference, but it is still a difference.
And uh let's see. Then Aaron Savale is next. He's third,
Wow.
and he is making 8 this year.
My goodness.
Do you know who is fourth? It's tied with two people.
Is Talkman one of them?
No.
Michael A.
Uh,
Taylor?
no, but Michael A. Taylor and Mike Talkman are tied and as sixth, tied for sixth and seventh.
Oh boy.
So these two players are tied for fourth and fifth.
So the next are third and fourth is what you're.
No, they got Benintendi is one, Luis Robert is two, Savale is three, and then Perez and oh, God, I said it. Martin Perez and then this other guy are tied for fourth and fifth.
Okay. Trying to think. It's not Lenine Sosa, is it?
No.
Didn't think so. I just figured I'd ask. Oh boy, let me think. Is he on the team still?
Yes.
So he's still on the
Ooh,
team.
yes.
You had to do a double take there.
Yeah, he is.
Okay. I
He's
said
got
Michael.
he's got a negative WAR.
Well, that doesn't really narrow it down. Oh boy. A negative war tied. Boy, I might kick myself when you say something. It's none of the catchers because all the catchers are young guys.
He's a utility guy.
Is it? It's not like Jacob Amaya, is it?
Josh Rojas.
Josh Rojas. Okay. I forgot he was still even on the team.
Yeah, I had to double check there for a second because he played yesterday.
I completely forgot.
Yeah, him and Martin Perez each make $3.5 million. Then it's Michael Taylor and Mike Talkman making 1.95. Then Austin Slater 1.75. Then Mike Clevenger 1.5.
Isn't he hurt, Mike Clevenger?
I thought they cut him or they DFA'd him, didn't they?
They've DFA'd him, they've released him, they've re-signed him. I've lost track,
He has not
honestly.
played. He's not played since April.
No, you're right. I think they did DFA him. Didn't they DFA him and like didn't he sign to a minor league deal or something?
I don't know. Let's find out.
This is how much I've paid attention to scumbag Mike Clevenger.
What is the latest on Mike Clevenger?
Things that
They
nobody
they
has
out
asked.
they outrighted him in April.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Thought they did.
Okay.
Um. Hmm. There's nothing on Google News about him since April.
Well, okay
So
then.
the whole world is like, forget this guy.
Boy, I'm just looking like at their roster right now. I mean, it's their baseball reference page, so it's people on and off the roster. Because Matt Theis is gone now. And I believe Tim Elko, he was sent down either
He was
yesterday or the day
he
before.
was, and I wanted to talk about that. Is I don't understand. Like this is one I don't understand. Is there's there's either one of two things going on because he's too good sitting in AAA. He tears up AAA. And sure, he's not pitching. He's not hitting like exceptionally well in the majors. So either you've got to just leave him in the majors and just let him work through things, or he's a quadruple A player.
I
I don't
mean,
know the answer, but I don't know what value he brings playing AAA.
it's a small sample size. It hasn't been good, but I mean, you could make an argument that you can try to see what he has for a little longer, considering you're not playing meaningful games in terms of winners or losses. I mean, because my whole thing, I guess, is now that Andrew Vaughn's gone, Ryan Noda is your first baseman. It's not like he's blocking somebody else.
Yeah, he's not. He's not blocking anybody. So I just don't understand is give him a shot. Let him play out the rest of, the next couple months. Like, I don't know if he's going to make it or not. He may not. He might be a quadruple A player
I mean, it very
and
well could be.
and there's a good number of guys that are quadruple A players where they're better because there's a huge jump between the minors and the majors.
Crash Davis.
Yeah, there's a huge jump, and some guys just can't do it. And it's not because they're failures. That's a really big jump, and uh, you know that's it's a big jump, and either give the guy the opportunity to do it, or just part ways. Like that's a frustrating thing. I would be frustrated if I was Elko. I know he's still young, but like, what else does he have to prove in the minors?
Really nothing. I mean, like you said, he's mashing AAA. Is he their version of Mash Mervis? First
I mean, maybe.
baseman, mid 20s, absolutely kills it in AAA, can't really make it in the majors.
I mean, that's a possibility. Um, and that's not a badge of shame. It's not a scarlet letter. Like you're a really good baseball player. Just that's a big jump, and uh, so I hope they give him an opportunity to come back and try this again because I think White Sox fans from what I gather, they seem to like him.
Yes.
So I just don't understand. He's not blocking anybody. It's not spot stealing, and fans like him. He gives you pop in the even he's going to strike out a lot but he's going to have legitimate pop in that bat. He gave you two game winners, walk-offs. Like I don't understand. Like just give the guy a shot. It's not like
Yeah.
you're competing for the postseason and he's hurting your chances.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You know what I can't help but just kind of chuckle at? Travis Jankowski and Gage Workman once played on the Sox this year, and they also once played on the Cubs too.
Mm-hmm.
Gage Workman played a grand total of 3 games for the White Sox after the Cubs let him go. Well,
Mm-hmm.
they got rid of him. He went to the Sox, and then he went back to the Tigers because he was a Rule 5 pick.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was kind of funny. I'm just looking at the overall numbers of some of these White Sox here, and you know who their WAR leader is? B WAR.
Um, Shane Smith.
This is batting.
Oh, sorry.
I should have made that clear. Sorry.
Uh, is it Talkman?
No, he is tied for third.
Um,
He's
Miguel
the only one with
Vargas
yes, he's the only one with double-digit homers, and he has, I would say, the highest OPS plus on the team. Technically, Talkman is higher, but Talkman also missed a lot at the time.
is
Talkman's,
Talkman even like qualified yet?
I don't even know. I'm looking at Baseball Reference, so my guess is probably not, but compare 69 games for Vargas versus 25 for Talkman.
Yeah, I don't think Talkman has enough bats to be qualified
Yeah,
yet. As of
yeah,
last week, he didn't.
yeah. So he's hitting well. 273, 381, 500, 881. We saw very similar things with the Cubs the past 2 years from him. Obviously,
What
he'll
did
have
you
some
say?
value there.
What place is Talkman?
On the team, he is tied for third in B WAR among hitters.
Chase Mydroth ahead of him?
Chase Mydroth is second, 1.1. And then he was tied for Matt Thaiss, but Matt Thaiss is technically gone now, so you could just say he's the third highest on the team.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're all a one or slightly above one.
Yeah, so Talkman is 1.0, Chase Mydroth is 1.1, Miguel Vargas is 1.7, then Edgar Caro is 0.5, Lenin Sosa 0.3, Corey Lee 0.2, Benintendi 0.2, and again, he's missed a decent amount of time. Michael A. Taylor 0.2, Kyle Teal 0.1, only in 8 games. Austin Slater 0.1, Luis Robert 0.1. Then everybody else is Blutarski or lower.
Yeah.
Again, that's just among hitters. If you want to talk about B WAR among pitchers, Shane Smith is 2.0. Adrian Hauser is already 1.3, and he's made 2 starts. Two very good starts, but that's another guy you could flip.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're gonna they're gonna have guys they can flip. If they play this, if the White Sox players maintain what they're doing, Chris Getz is gonna have a lot of opportunity to make moves.
Hmm.
And it's nice because sometimes deals just don't work out. Like
Right.
you might have the willingness to trade somebody. Somebody may want that player, but you've got to be able to agree on compensation. And if you don't, sometimes those things just don't work out. Uh and having more players that you're willing to move and that people actually want, more likely you're going to have to make moves, and that's really where it gets you. Because this means you're a motivated seller, but you're not a desperate seller.
Right.
And that's a good position to be in for
Hmm.
the future.
Absolutely.
Um, let's see. There's not a lot of Blackhawk stuff, but we've got Bears and Bulls.
Oh, Bulls.
And it's not even player. So let's just go Bulls.
Yeah.
Is the Knicks, they fired Tibbs, which I think was dumb. Um,
I don't agree with it, but I'm not surprised by it.
I'm not surprised by it either, but I don't agree with it. Everybody thinks that they're better than they are but they don't realize that Tibbs got them there.
He
Um,
did, and again, I'm not saying it was a great firing, but I do just wonder if it was another one of those things where, like we saw at the Bulls and other places, where you just had that Tibbs burnout, if you know what I mean.
yeah, and that's what I think. It just you get burnt out. He rubs people the wrong way. Time to
And
move
just the
on.
style, the aggressive style, and we
I'm
remember what happened to
shocked that he
Rose.
hasn't moved or like he hasn't grown from that yet. That you don't got to grind everybody to death.
Especially after what happened to Derrick Rose.
I mean, he did it multiple places since then.
Right.
Um, but the Knicks reached out to the Bulls about Billy Donovan, which I thought was interesting. And then immediately it comes out that the Bulls are negotiating a contract extension with Billy. So I don't know how I feel about that.
So here's my honest opinion about Billy Donovan. I think he's a fine coach. I don't think he's a championship level coach. I also don't think that a lot of the problems with the Bulls are necessarily on him. I'm
Yeah,
not
I'm
overly excited about it, but it's not all his fault either.
I'm growing really tired of AK.
Oh, I'm already tired of it. What a letdown.
The most frustrating part is, all right, let's just say you had a plan in your brain. This was a plan and you executed that plan and it didn't work out. That sucks. But I don't know what his plan is, and it's
There isn't one.
it's way if he has one, it's way too slow developing in a
You
quick
got to
pace
be
league.
patient.
It's and I just feel he doesn't have a plan, and uh when and then it's just everything is done too late. All right, well, we're gonna move on from Vooch. You should have done that 2 years ago. Um, it just the moves don't make sense. The trades don't make sense, and the draft picks don't make sense.
When
I
you've made how many consecutive play-in tournaments, what does that say about your plan? It says to me there isn't one. And do you remember the play-in game, the most recent one against the Heat at the United Center? You know, the one that for the 10 billionth time where Eric Spoelstra coached circles around you and embarrassed you, this
Yeah,
time in front of your home fans. Do you remember what the announcers said at the beginning of the game?
no, I don't.
That it's not ideal to be regulars in this tournament, and that's exactly what they said about the Bulls.
I mean, that's it's fair.
So here we are. We're watching the Indiana Pacers, who are 2 wins away from winning a championship. Whether or not they do is yet to be seen, but regardless, at the very least, they got within 2 wins of a championship. Whether they win it or not, you're watching them, and you're watching other teams in the East build these teams. You see the Cavs, what they did. Even though their playoff run was very disappointing, you saw how good they were in the regular season. You see what Boston's been able to do. You saw what New York was able to do. You see what the Heat have been able to do under Eric Spoelstra, even well after LeBron was gone. And then here you are preaching about, oh, you got to be patient, even though all you're doing is being mediocre and making play-in tournaments. So here are the Pacers with Tyrese Halliburton, who you could have had. Instead, you have Patrick Williams, and you extended him, and he's worthless. How does that
Yeah,
how does that make you feel? And you're gonna sit there and say, oh well, we got the 12th pick. We're gonna try to flip Lonzo Ball and Vucevic for boxes of raisins. What are you gonna accomplish?
I don't know. I don't know what their plan is. Like I don't know what the mold they're trying to fill. Like I don't
They're
know.
fucked.
Like nobody, they're not getting free agents. They're not a
No.
good enough draft position to get somebody good. Like what do you get? How are
You're
you
gonna
going to put
overpay
together?
for Josh Giddey is what you're gonna do.
Probably. And then you're going to be like, fuck, we overpaid Josh Giddey in like 2 years.
And
I
I'm
don't,
not even saying Josh Giddey's a worthless player. He's a good piece. But if that's going to be your centerpiece, and I love Kobe White, but if Kobe White and Josh Giddey are your centerpieces, really? What are you going to win with that?
nothing. Whole lot of nothing.
It's empty calories. The Bulls are nothing but empty calories.
Yeah, they're not a good basketball team. And they're not a dog shit one either. That's the frustrating part.
No, if you'd have said, hey, listen, this year they're going to win 12, maybe 13 games, and they're going to win the lottery, and they're going to get a big star. All for it. All for it. We were so close to winning the lottery this year. If you would have won the Cooper Flab sweepstakes, everything changes. But you didn't. because you had to win a bunch of extra games to make the play-in tournament.
Frustrating. Super frustrating.
I mean, truly, it sounds like I'm frustrated, but I'm really just in awe at this point. I I don't give a shit. Like, they don't give me any indigestion because I just don't care anymore. I mean, here we are. How many years has Billy Donovan been here? Since what, 2021? Isn't that when they hired him?
Thought it was 2020. Maybe it's 2021.
Well, it was during that kind of transition time in early pandemic years. They hired AK, then they brought him because AK hired Billy Donovan.
Yes.
So he's been around. And again, I'm not blaming this all on Billy Donovan, but he's been around decent amount of time. It's not like he's 1 or 2 years into this job. What do you have from that era? One playoff win, not a series, a singular playoff win. And I don't care about them beating Toronto and then them beating Atlanta in play-in games. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Because both times it ended against the Heat after those. Nobody cares. You won a playoff game against Milwaukee on the road, and then Milwaukee came into your house where you have not won a playoff game in a decade, and they beat your ass. What else is there to say?
I mean that's about it. That's about it.
Did you hear the news from today as well
No.
about AK and Eversley?
No.
They announced that Eversley, not AK, is going to address the media after the draft. What's that
Why?
all about?
Why? I don't understand. Make it make sense.
It doesn't. Not that you're going to hear anything of value, but what kind of message does that send?
That this team is a disaster.
That's about it. Wraps it all up.
Hmm. So I don't have a lot of Bears talk here. We'll wrap it up quick. Did you see Ben Johnson's pointed language about Luther Burden?
I did.
Good. I, you know, it's listen, there's injured and there's hurt, and they're not the same. And Ben Johnson made it abundantly clear that if you're not there, you're not getting those reps, you're not building your rapport with your other players and your quarterback, and uh and you are going to get passed up. And that's how it is. Telling you, if you're not injured, you had better be out there. And that's a fair thing to say. Like, you're getting paid a lot of money. You can play through aches and pains. Injury, different story. You're injured, you're injured.
Mm-hmm. He
But
was very blunt about it.
yeah, I mean, I don't think that was just a message to Luther Burden. I think that was a message to everybody, but it pointed at him.
Right. I mean, you look at this and you say, here's where you hope to see the standard set. It's with these kinds of things. Because you can say all the things in the world. Truly, you could say, we have to be tough. We got to be here. You got to do this. You got to do that. You could give all the cliches. You could say all the right things, but words are words without meaning if there's no action. But I think Ben Johnson, when he said, like, in his opening press conference, the stakes are never going to be higher, the pressure's never going to be higher, the expectations are never going to be higher. He meant it. And he's already showing you that this is what he is setting. This is the culture he is creating. These are the terms and conditions that you sign when you play for Ben Johnson. And it's there's nobody's going to slow up for you. It's going to be a battle. He said that.
I mean, what's the quote been? The standard is the standard.
Hmm.
That those expectations are not changing because of the the attitude on the team or the injury report. The standard is the standard, and you'd better meet that standard.
Hmm.
I love it. I
I
love
do
it.
too. I do
It
too.
is changing. It is changing the mentality of this team, and it needed to be changed. Is you don't have to be a hard ass, but you've got to set standards.
And keep him.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Standards have to be there. Standards have to be kept, and players have to be held accountable, not only by coaches but by other players on the team. And I like that when all the other veterans weren't there anymore, that you still had Caleb Williams there throwing passes to the young players because you know what? They've got to build a rapport with him. And guess what? He's still got to learn all that offense. And the expectations are very high for him.
Yep. And Ben Johnson's going to hold him to it. I mean, still, my favorite part of the offseason from Ben Johnson was just when he was talking about him yelling over at Caleb Williams during practice. And Ben Johnson immediately knew what the reporter was referring to. He just said, ball's got to come out quicker. How do you respond? Awesome. I love that.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
seems
that's
so simple, but it goes a long way.
is, you know what? Players, there's a way to do it is you can tell somebody they're not doing something right and you can be firm about it and stern about it without being a dick about it. And players will respond.
Right. And that's the thing. This isn't Mike Ditka, yelling and screaming and, being Mike Ditka. This is a very polished, smart, articulate guy who is going to say what he needs to say with the inflection he needs to express without being that stereotypical meathead. And, obviously, when the time was right in those days, yeah, Mike Ditka served his purpose, but it's not to say that we're softer now, but it's the way we respond and just the sophistication of the game itself is higher than ever, and you need to express yourself the right way, if that makes sense.
There's good coaches come in all different flavors. Is you look at Andy Reid, it's a much different coach than Bill Belichick.
Hmm.
And guess what? They're two of the best coaches of all time.
Arguably one and two, if you
Are
want to go down that route.
very arguably one and two. Uh, and there's coaches like Mike Vrabel, who a lot of people wanted as the next Bears coach, and he is from that same camp of New England, and where it's very hard nosed, no nonsense. And Andy Reid is a whole lot of nonsense. Like, sure, he's gonna coach hard, but he's he's a guy that will have fun. And players, he's a player coach. They like him.
Yep. And then he celebrates Super Bowl victories by going out and getting a cheeseburger, which I respect very, very much.
I don't think that's correct. You said a as in singular.
My bad. I love it though. Like I think I remember him saying like after his first Super Bowl talking about like victory cheeseburger. I'm like, yes, that is how you live life.
Give
Good
me them
man.
nugget. Give me them nuggies. So yeah, I mean, Ben Johnson, I think is going to be very hard nosed, but players are going to love him because he's honest. He's very likable, but he's not going to take any bullshit.
Right.
No bullshit.
And the Bears have people on their staff that are especially going to be the no bullshit type.
Yeah.
That's why I have Eric Bieniemy on there.
Oh my God. I don't want him as my O coordinator, but having him on this coaching staff, love it.
Me too. I agree.
And you know what? Is he and Ben Johnson must have said something, because any of those veterans that were out there, Dobbins and Chubb, the Bears never no link to them at all.
No.
They seem to be content with what they got.
Maybe they make a move if there are cuts, but yeah, they didn't. Chubb was not a Bear like we thought he might be. So I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of cuts. There always are.
Yep.
But
It's not going to be a guy, in my opinion, of Chubb, most likely, but you'll find valuable guys on the market.
yeah, so we shall see. We shall see. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Nope, I think I've said my piece.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, etc. Share this podcast with your friends, how we grow the show. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com, or Swerski_Sports_podcast on Instagram, or ShyFanPat2 for Alex on Twitter/X, or AlexanderJPatCreative.com for all the cool stuff that Alex does. And again, thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like Remember, New Yorkers, smoking crack is not legal on the plains.
Bears 31 to -7.
The Bears.
Oh, when the Bears go bearing down, I wanna